There are various ways of shaping metal. Stamping, pressing, spinning is one way of forming metal. It's mainly a way of forming round shapes out of sheet metal. You can spin by stretching, but basically it's more like a potter's wheel, really, how you form. You just form the metal. Take it so far on your first chuck, and it's got to move to a smaller chuck to take it down a little bit further, so it gradually works down into the correct shape. You've got to reduce it in diameter, really. You're starting off with a circle of well, that was an 8-inch diameter circle for the tankard. You know, when you've spun it so far, it's, you know, the widest diameter then's probably about 7.5 after the first chuck, and then you reduce it further in diameter using the different chucks until it becomes taller and narrower. That's about it for that. It's ready for annealing now. When silver's annealed, it's best to use quite a soft flame and get the metal hot gradually. So when it's at the required temperature, it's just a very faint pink colour, which is hard to see in a bright light. So it's best done in quite a dark room. If you get the silver hotter than this faint pink, you can burn the silver quite easily. As soon as you've reached the pink temperature, it's best to quench it immediately. Silver, when it's been spun, stamped or pressed or any other process, it work hardens. The annealing softens it to enable you to do more work at it without the metal cracking or splitting. This chuck, which is one of the series of vacuum chucks for forming the tankard, it takes using different chucks, taking the metal over gradually, enables you to spin it down without thinning. When you put the metal on the lathe, you use a lubricant on it, either oil, soap, tallow, wax, and you have to keep this on all over the metal, or your burnishes do drag and scratch the metal, and the buffers aren't too pleased then if you scratch it, because they've got to buff all the scratches out. And if you do scratch them bad enough, it can break on those scratches. So you've got to keep a lubricant on it to stop friction. You order spinning silver, and it is softer than ordinary standard silver because it's got a cadmium content in it, which makes it soft and easy to work. It changes as you work it. Once you've done so much work at it, it work hardens. It just becomes physically harder to move, and the metal will start to crease and wrinkle You know, if you do carry on, it will just crease and crack. You've got to stop. You know, once it's got hard, you can't just carry on working it. Isn't really the most difficult of spinnings. A lot of other spinnings are far more complicated to do from a flat disc, but a Georgian tanker does show quite a few drafting chucks and quite a few annealings being used before a section chuck, which is of some interest in spinning.
The spinning at this stage, it's still got parallel sides, so it'll come off this wooden chuck easily. The next stage is to put the Georgian shape into the spinning, and that needs a section chuck. A chuck which is made in sections to enable the concave to be put into the metal and still come off the chuck. This is a central plug which holds the sections together, and the hole through the centre has to allow the pieces to fall into the centre. The first one to be removed is called a key, and the sides of the key are cut so the narrow part is to the outside, which enables it to fall into the centre, and then all the sections will come out.
Part of spinning is being able to make all your own chucks, including section chucks such as this one for the Georgian tankard, and that in itself is quite a big part of learning the job. It's quite easy to make the section chucks so they don't work. You have to be most careful. So when you've made them and cut them, everything does work, and they will take to pieces correctly. Sometimes spinning just involves making new jobs, starting from a drawing, making all your own chucks up for the drawing, which is very interesting. The other side of spinning is when you're just spinning repetition work. This can be interesting in getting down to very fast times and seeing how quickly the work can be done.
Gradually work it down into the concave neck. Final annealing. going to take the sections out. The key first, and then the other pieces, keeping them in the same order. Last stage is to put the sections back into the spinning, and finally take it down onto the chuck and finish with the Georgian shape. The key's the last one to go in to lock the sections together. The foot is the next stage for the Georgian tankard. The circle for the foot is spun onto a chuck which is the same shape as the foot is required. It's roughly drafted down onto the chuck, taken off and annealed, and then the steps and hollows are put in. The metal is then put into another chuck in reverse, and the edge is folded over on the inside to form a wrap and a nice smooth edge. It's then turned round again, the top end cut out and the metal pulled back, which forms a flare out which is then soldered to the base of the body. Silversmith will now solder the foot to the base of the tankard using silver solder. When the foot has been soldered on, it's cleaned in an acid pickle, and then the handle is soldered on and the tankard is then buffed. The handle for this tankard is cast in two halves to save using too much silver. It's cast hollow. The silversmith solders it together with a hard grade of silver solder. He then files it up and it's then applied to the body of the tankard. That's the position in which the handle is soldered on for the finished tankard.
It's giftware, really. It's expensive giftware, but they're bought for presents. They're bought for presentations.